بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على نبي الرحمة الخاتم الأمين. أما بعد، اليوم وللمرة الأولى بالمملكة العربية السعودية تنطلق من الرياض العاصمة أعمال المنتدى العالمي لريادة الأعمال تحت رعاية كريمة لصاحب السمو الملكي الأمير عبد العزيز بن عبد الله بن عبد العزيز نائب وزير الخارجية ورئيس مجلس أمناء صندوق المئوية في تظاهرة لأكبر تجمع متخصص للرياديين والرياديات على مستوى العالم، كمبادرة من مبادرات صندوق المئوية النوعية لتنمية الفكر والابتكار ونشر ثقافة العمل الحر، ومن أجل تحقيق أفضل النتائج والخروج بأفضل التوصيات لهذا النوع من الملتقيات. فقد حرص الصندوق على توجيه الدعوة واستقطاب أبرز الشخصيات المحلية والإقليمية والعالمية، والتي من المؤكد ستعطي بمشاركتها وخبرتها هذا المنتدى القيم القيمة المضافة والفائدة المنشودة في مثل هذا الحدث الدولي. الآن الكلمة الافتتاحية للمنتدى العالمي لريادة الأعمال يلقيها سعادة مدير عام صندوق المئوية الدكتور عبد العزيز بن محمود المطيري، فليتفضل مشكورا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أيها الحفل الكريم، يسرني أن أرحب جميعا في المنتدى العالمي لريادة الأعمال، والذي يعقد للمرة الأولى في المملكة العربية السعودية، الذي يقام تحت شعار نحو عالمية ريادة الأعمال، تحت رعاية كريمة من صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير عبد العزيز بن عبد الله نائب وزير الخارجية رئيس مجلس أمناء الصندوق، ويحظى بدعم السمو الكريم. هذه النخبة المميزة من المتحدثين العالميين والمحليين من كبار قادة الأعمال والمثقفين والصحفيين والمستثمرين والباحثين وقادة الفكر وصناع القرار، والذين سيثرون محاور المنتدى نقاشا وتداولا بحثا الموضوعات. هذا المنتدى الذي يعد حدثا رفيعا في المجتمع ويقام مرة كل سنة للعمل مع ونناقش التحديات التي تواجه رواد الأعمال في المرحلة الراهنة. أيها الحفل الكريم، إن المنتدى العالمي لريادة الأعمال سيتبنى رؤية تعزيز الوعي المستمر بتنظيم المشاريع وتقييم الاتجاهات الحالية لريادة الأعمال والمساعدة على تحول الاقتصاد الوطني إلى اقتصاد مستدام، والعمل أن يكون ملتقى التقاء المهتمين وصانعي السياسات وأصحاب القرار ورواد الأعمال العالميين لتبادل الأفكار وعرض التجارب الناجحة لتنمية الابتكار والإبداع، وإبراز دور الشركات الناشئة لرفع مستوى التنافسية والمساهمة في النمو الاقتصادي، وزيادة الاعتراف العام بدور رجال الأعمال في خلق فرص وظيفية وبناء اقتصاد متين للدول، وتمكين رواد ورائدات الأعمال لبناء شركات عالمية، لإيماننا بأن ريادة الأعمال ليس لها حدود. أيها الأخوة والأخوات، إن إقامة المنتدى العام لريادة الأعمال يهدف للاطلاع على البرامج المتطورة والسياسات لرفع من كفاءة مشاريع ريادة الأعمال وتبادل الخبرات واكتساب معلومات قيمة من الرياديين العالميين وأصحاب المشاريع الناجحة لتعزيز الابتكار والإبداع لدى رائد الأعمال والتواصل مع عدد من الداعمين للمشاريع الريادية، والتي تساعد رواد الأعمال في إقامة الخطوة الأولى لمشاريع متعددة ماهية الأولى لبدء وتنمية المشاريع التجارية الناجحة. وفي الختام، أرحب بكم جميعا في انطلاق أعمال المنتدى العالمي لريادة الأعمال، راجيا أن تحظى مناقشاتكم بروح الفكر والإبداع وتلاقى الأفكار والحوار الإيجابي والبناء لعالم لريادة الأعمال. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، ضيوفنا الكرام، تنطلق أعمال المنتدى العالمي لريادة الأعمال ب5 جلسات ومحاضرة نهائية مقررة ضمن أنجدة المنتدى. سوف يكون معنا في الجلسة الأولى والتي تحمل عنوان تمكين رائدات الأعمال لبناء الشراكات العالمية، والمتحدثون هم الدكتورة لما سليمان، نائب رئيس مجلس إدارة الغرفة التجارية الصناعية بمحافظة جدة المملكة العربية السعودية، والسيدة كريستين بيفر من أسواق النمو الاستراتيجية في وارنست وينج العالمية من إيطاليا، والسيدة رندا بسيسو المدير المؤسس لمركز الشرق الأوسط التابع لكلية الأعمال بجامعة مانشستر من لبنان، والسيدة ماريا بينولي من العام الشبكة الدولية للمؤسسات الصغيرة والمتوسطة من إيطاليا. كما سيدير الجلسة السيدة هيلين مورغ رئيس الجلسة ومحرر ميزات فوربس الشرق الأوسط من إيرلندا. أترك لهم الحوار والحديث مع التذكير بالالتزام بالوقت المحدد.
Well, it's great to see everyone here today to discuss a topic that is so close to so many of our hearts. My name is Helen Morrow. I'm the Features Editor of Forbes Middle East, and I'll be moderating this panel on empowering female entrepreneurs to build global companies. I'm not an entrepreneur, but I have spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs through my work, women and men, and they're a very special kind of person. And they're also a rare kind of person, women more so than men. And what this panel aims to do is to discuss how we can equip more women to start businesses with a global reach. More and more we're seeing how women can be a vital part of the global economy. So today we're going to try and see how we can encourage that even more. And first up, we're going to hear from Lama Al-Suleiman, Deputy Chairwoman of Jeddah Chamber of Commerce. And then we're going to discuss in a little more depth the topic.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. أولاً أشكر الدكتور عبد العزيز على هذه الدعوة، وأشكر الحضور، وأشكر صندوق المئوية على هذه المبادرة. موضوعنا اليوم عن السيدات الأعمال والرواد الأعمال من السيدات. بالنسبة للمملكة العربية السعودية، حاولت أني أحصر المعلومة اللي متواجدة عندنا، وجدت أنه ما في حقيقة معلومات كافية عن من هي سيدة الأعمال ومن هم رواد الأعمال من السيدات. وجدت أنه في المملكة في 5 أنواع. في عندنا السيدات الأعمال اللي هم متواجدين في سوق العمل حالياً وفي القطاع الخاص أكثر من 10 سنوات. بعدين وجدت أنه في هناك أعضاء مجلس إدارة اللي هم السيدات اللي ينتموا إلى الشركات العائلية. وجدت أنه في رائدات أعمال ولكن بأعداد قليلة، ويعتبروا أكثر من الشابات اللي الآن أصبحوا دخلوا سوق العمل بأقل من 5 سنوات. بعد كده وجدت أنه في العمل من المنزل الهوم بيس بيزنس موجود منه كثير، وهدول غير مسجلين في أي مكان. وأخيراً فيما نحن نسمى الأسر المنتجة، والأغلبية بحب أنه يضع الأسر المنتجة في القائمة حقت سيدات الأعمال، حتى ولو أنا عندي بعض التحفظ على هذه الفكرة، لأنه أعتقد أنه الأسر المنتجة هم من السيدات الذي يحتاجوا المظلة حقت الشؤون الاجتماعية وليس مظلة التجارة. بعد كده كم نحن من السيدات؟ حسب الإحصائيات اللي وجدتها في وزارة التجارة حتى الآن في حوالي 54 ألف سجل تجاري تقريباً فقط للسيدات في المملكة العربية السعودية كصاحبات أعمال. وهذا في الخطة التنمية يقال أنه هم حوالي 4% من القطاع الخاص، وأعتقد أنه برضو الرقم هذا غير دقيق، لأنه بعض السيدات لهم شركات بأسماء أزواجهم أو أي حد من أقاربهم، وبعض السجلات بأسماء سيدات أصلاً هم ما بيشتغلوا مهنة التجارة أو أي شيء آخر كصاحبات أعمال، ولكن هن بأسماء أزواجهم اللي يمكن كانوا بيشتغلوا بالقطاع العام. بعد كده الفرص. next اوكي، خليني اتكلم انه ليش اليوم في هناك فرصة رائعة في المملكة بالنسبة لصاحبات الأعمال. اولا راح اتكلم نظارتي عن اولا في نسبة عالية زي ما نحن نعرف، اكثر من 70% من المجتمع من الشباب يعني انه شباب وشابات. بعد كده في توجه من الدولة، توجه سياسي بدعم نوعين، دعم أولاً أصحاب الأعمال من المنشآت الصغيرة والرواد، عشان كده عندنا زي الصندوق المئوية اللي نحن شايفينه الآن، وفي طبعاً دعم حقيقي وسياسي لمشاركة المرأة وزيادة عدد الفرص اللي متاحة اليوم للمرأة. في شيء تاني كمان عندنا أنه في 60% من الخريجات الجامعيات هم من النساء، معناته ما عندنا مشكلة زي مشكلة كثير من الدول الأخرى أنه المرأة التي يجب أن ندعمها عشان تدخل سوق العمل غير متعلمة. المرأة السعودية 60 منها خريجات جامعيات. بعد كده المجتمع يتقبل المرأة كسيدة أعمال. المجتمع لسه عنده مشكلة بتقبل المرأة في الوظائف، ولكن ما في أي إشكالية كوجودها كصاحبة أعمال، يعتبر ستيتس جدا راضيين عنه. بعد كده المرأة السعودية لها استقلالية مالية، يعني من ناحية الإرث ومن ناحية أنه هي بتاخذ حقها الاقتصادي، هذا موضوع ما في عنا فيه إشكالية في المملكة. ففي هناك في بيئة ممكن تساعد على تحقيق أنه نزيد أعداد من صاحبات الأعمال ورائدات الأعمال في المملكة. راحت كل هذه؟ لا before that. أوكي. بعد كده طبعاً السبب الأساسي والسبب الأول والأخير، وقد ما أحب أقوله، هو الآن المرأة ليس موضوع أنه يجي ثانوي، ولكن موضوع أولوي بسبب دعم خادم الحرمين الشريفين. هذا جدا جدا مهم، لأنه السرعة اللي تطورت فيها وشاركت فيها المرأة بخلال ال10 سنوات يعني حقيقة شيء ما أعتقد يقارن مع أي دولة ثانية. ب 2004 ابتدى بقرار بسيط، قرار مجلس وزراء اسمه قرار 120، كان في 9 بنود، حتى البنود ما هي متراكمة مع بعضها، ولكن كل البنود بتشجع المرأة. أهم بند أنه المرأة لها الحق أن تزاول أي نشاط موجود في وزارة التجارة. طيب بعد كده ليش اليوم بالمملكة في عندنا صعوبات؟ ليش ما في نساء اليوم موجودين بسوق العمل؟ السبب الأهم والأول هو المجتمع وفكرة المرأة وكيف ممكن أن تشارك. التحديات اللي نحن بنشوفها تحديات من الأنظمة، يعني حتى اليوم هناك أنظمة غير متواجدة. حتى اليوم نحن بنناقش إذا المرأة تفتح مشاغل تجهيز عرايس أو صالونات تجميل أو أندية صحية تخص المرأة فقط، لا يوجد معها أي حد ثاني، ولكن سهل على المرأة أن تفتح محل وتتاجر لامرأة ورجل، ولكن حتى الآن النظام ما بيغطي السجلات، ما بيغطي الرخص، فهذا طبعا تحدي. في تحدي ثاني، شالوا وزارة التجارة إجبار المرأة بأنه يكون عندها وكيل، ولكن ما زال هناك طلب أنه يصير عندها مدير، هذا برضو نتأمل أنه إن شاء الله يكون مؤقت. بعد كده في توجه المجتمع، ما في حسم بموقف المجتمع لموضوع مشاركة المرأة، الموقف دائما متردد ومتغير ومتذبذب. طالما ما في هذا الحسم حيفضل موضوع المرأة موضوع حياخد وقته عشان نزيد رائدات الأعمال. بآخر شيء، المرأة من حد ذاتها عندها أشياء. المرأة تخاف أن تأخذ مخاطر، رواد الأعمال يحتاجوا إلى أخذ المخاطر. المرأة تحتاج إلى دعاية، ما يوجد لنا سبل إلى الدعاية. المرأة تحتاج إلى mentorship، تحتاج إلى دعم الرجل. One minute. This is my community. I need to send them the message. المرأة تحتاج إلى دعم الرجل. بدون دعم الرجل ما ممكن إنه يزداد نسبة رائدات الأعمال في البلد. يعني إذا اليوم جينا وقلنا في غرفة، يعني خبرتي في غرفة جدة هي بسبب نجاحي، بسبب دعم الأعضاء مجلس الإدارة والمجتمع لي أنا، وليس فقط لأنه لدي مؤهلات ولا لدي دعم المجتمع للمرأة، وجودها، حضورها في المناسبات اللي بقيمة. مش بس نقول والله نحن نسمح لهم يسووا مناسبة عشان ياخذوا تدريب، عشان يعزموا ناس. مستوى التدريب لازم يكون مستوى المجتمع يرضى فيه، مو أي شيء. المرأة ليس فقط أسر منتجة. آخر شيء يعني أحب أتركه، طبعاً في تحديات أساسية لها، أنه ما في عندها نتورك، ما في جهاز انه هي تقدر تتعرف على ما هم اصحاب الاعمال، ايش المطلوب منها. ما عندها مشكله انها تاخذ قروض. المراه السعوديه ما هي اكبر اساسياتها انها تتجه لتاخذ قرض. ستجد انه تفضل المراه السعوديه انه تاخذ الدعم المادي لراس مالها من احد من الاسره او من احد قريب او من مالها الشخصي، لانه لسه في تخوف لانه تروح لصندوق، او حتى لو في تجارب ناجحه. ولكن أنا برجع بقول النجاح لازم يكون بالنسب اللي نحن متعودين عليها. أنا كنت حابة أوريكم بعض النجاحات. في نجاحات كبيرة، في سيدات أعمال مستعدين أنهم يطلعوا دولي، ومش ليس فقط محلي، ولكن الأعداد جدا ضئيلة. وكل اللي أطلب من الله التوفيق، وأطلب من الجميع أنه يهتم بموضوع مشاركة المرأة كصاحبة أعمال. وأعتقد أنه من واجب ومسؤولية كل واحد موجود أنه يدعم امرأة لتصبح سيدة أعمال أو رائدة أعمال، أو حتى خلق وظائف لهن. وشكرا لكم.
Thank you, Lana. And now we will hear from Maria Lunelli. She is Global Vice Chair of Strategic Growth Markets in Ernst & Young.
Very good. 5 minutes, correct? Very good. Well, ladies, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to the Centennial Fund and Dr. Abdulaziz for having me here. And also to the G20 YEA, Young Entrepreneur Alliance, who we've been working with very carefully and closely with over the past several years. Just a few comments while I open on the importance of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs create 86% or more of all jobs in the G20. They represent more than 2/3 of all jobs today. They are the single most contributor to job creation, which of course spurs economic growth. And today we can't go anywhere really internationally or domestically without thinking about the importance of entrepreneurs to the economy. So I congratulate you on pulling this conference together, because we need to do more to bring this important subject more visible. And as my colleague said, with more than 70% of youth here represented in this particular part of the world, really the future for job creation, for economic prosperity, for their children and generations to come will come through entrepreneurship. I'm delighted to be here in my role at E&Y. I lead our practice for fast growth companies and entrepreneurs. We've committed to this space for more than 3 decades. We've worked with one of the largest internet companies, search engines in the world, when they were only 4 employees. I can recall one of the world's largest online retailers. We met when they were packing boxes, he and his wife. So it shows you that anything is possible. I'm also delighted to say that I lead the Entrepreneur of the Year program worldwide, and it's a pleasure to be here really. Just last year we launched the Entrepreneur of the Year award here in Saudi Arabia, and congratulations to the winner, U-Turn, who has a company with Made in Saudi Arabia Films. We did have a woman entrepreneur in the program. She was fantastic, by the way, and she produced coffee makers for Arabic coffee. So on the subject of what makes entrepreneurship work, well, the G20YEA and Ernst & Young have concluded 5 major things. An entrepreneurial culture is really important. Really valuing this as a career option and actually embracing the opportunity for failure as a learning opportunity. Second, access to financing. Entrepreneurs have told us more than 70% that this is their biggest issue. Third, education and training, extremely important. And it's not good enough to just have a science program or a technical program and not embed entrepreneurship in that curriculum. Because even if you don't become an entrepreneur, having an entrepreneurial mindset can really change the way you solve problems in your technical mandate. Next, taxation and regulation. I'm pleased to say here in Saudi Arabia and the G20, it rated #1 amongst all the G20 countries for a business-friendly environment and taxation and entrepreneurship. And lastly is coordinated support. The way government, entrepreneurs, and corporates can work together, because no one body can do this alone. I just want to close with a few comments on women. I know we're going to have a more in-depth talk, and I appreciated learning more about the local economy here. But more than 30% of all businesses today are run by women. They're women-owned. Think about that. 1 in 3 worldwide. In developed markets such as the United States, that number is as high as 40%. 40% of all women businesses or private businesses are run by women. Now, the issue is they just don't scale. And so it's really important, I think, for all entrepreneurs to think about scaling businesses and building long-term businesses for sustainable growth. And I know we'll talk further about that today. And lastly, I just might add a few comments on women entrepreneurs in general. Studies have shown internationally that these businesses actually grow quite fast compared to other counterparts. They pay down debt quicker, and they tend to reinvest back in the business and back in their local economies. So suffice it to say, I think we can make a case that supporting entrepreneurship, and of course women entrepreneurs, will feed an entire nation, will help our children to see a better future, and will actually put us in good stead for a better life. So thank you, and I look forward to talking to you more about the issues. Great.
Great, thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الضيوف الكرام، سيداتي سادتي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأسعد الله صباحكم. بداية أنا أود أن أتقدم بجزيل الشكر لصندوق المئوية والدكتور عبد العزيز على الدعوة الكريمة لي للمشاركة في هذا الجمع الكريم. ويسرني ويشرفني أن أتحدث إليكم اليوم في موضوع وهو من أهم المواضيع والأقربها إلى قلبي، وهو تمكين السيدات من رائدات الأعمال. لقد اجتاز الاقتصاد العالمي فترة حرجة للغاية، وما يزال أمامنا الكثير من التحديات، حيث تشير التوقعات أن صندوق النقد الدولي سيقوم مرة أخرى بخفض تصنيف الاقتصاد العالمي، مما يعني وبوضوح أن العالم ما يزال بحاجة إلى جميع الكفاءات المنتجة اقتصادياً التي يمكن إيجادها، وهذا بالطبع يتضمن المرأة ولأسباب هامة وبديهية. فمكانة المرأة ودورها تشهدان أهمية متزايدة كأحد عوامل الدفع الأساسية لريادة الأعمال في مختلف أنحاء العالم، بما في ذلك الشرق الأوسط. وهناك العديد من المزايا والفوائد التي تنشأ عن هذا التطور. فالمرأة عادة ما تؤسس أعمال وتستثمر وقتها ومالها الخاص في مشاريع ذات بعد اجتماعي، كما أنها تعيد استثمار نسبة متزايدة من دخلها في مشاريعها، مما يؤدي إلى تحسين توزيع الثروات. ووفقاً لمبادرة صندوق هيلاري كلينتون الدولي للنساء والفتيات، فإن المرأة في الأسواق الناشئة تعيد استثمار ما نسبته 90 سنتاً من كل دولار إضافي من الدخل في تعليم وصحة وتغذية عائلتها. ويقابل ذلك استثمار الرجل بما نسبته 30 ل 40% في هذه الجوانب. هذا يعني أن السيدات من رواد الأعمال هن عنصر فاعل وهام للمجتمع ككل وللاقتصاد بشكل خاص، كما يعني أن دعم الدور الاقتصادي للمرأة عن طريق التعليم والتدريب والمساعدة في توفير التمويل اللازم لها هو استثمار أكثر من ناجح. لقد أثبت هذا الدعم نجاحه، والأمثلة الرائعة على تمكين رواد الأعمال من السيدات كثيرة في المنطقة. ومن دواعي فخري أن كلية الأعمال في جامعة مانشستر، والتي أقوم بإدارتها في دبي في الإمارات العربية المتحدة، تقدم الدعم لأحد هذه البرامج بالتعاون مع غرفة تجارة دبي تحت اسم برنامج رؤية. ولكن يبقى هناك الكثير مما يجب القيام به لمواصلة تمكين السيدات من رواد الأعمال. لقد بدأت المرأة تكتسب مزيداً من الثقة وتصل إلى تحقيق كامل إمكانياتها في المجال الاقتصادي. ووفقاً لتقرير وضع الشركات المملوكة للسيدات في عام 2014 الصادر عن الجمعية الوطنية لسيدات الأعمال، فإن السيدات عبرن عن تفاؤل كبير فيما يتعلق بأداء شركاتهن وتوقعاتها الاقتصادية المستقبلية، بما يمثل قفزة بالمقارنة مع عام 2013. كما وجد التقرير أن 92% من السيدات التي شملهن الاستطلاع يتوقعن دخول المزيد من السيدات إلى عالم ريادة الأعمال. ولكن كيف يمكن للمرأة أن تعزز تأثيرها على الاقتصاد العالمي؟ ستواصل السيدات بشكل جماعي تحقيق أكبر تأثير باعتمادهن على مهاراتهن وكفاءتهن في مجال ريادة الأعمال. إن تأسيس وتطوير شركة عالمية يشكل تحدياً بالنسبة لأي من رواد الأعمال، فالتوسع في فكرة الأعمال ونموذج العمل، الشغف الشخصي والطاقة للعمل، وتطوير الكفاءات والمهارات للتحول من مالك لشركة إلى قائد، كلها أمور تمثل تحدياً هائلاً لأي سيدة أو رجل. نحن نعرف بالفعل أن المرأة تعتبر عنصراً أساسياً من عناصر النمو الاقتصادي حول العالم، وبناء على خبراتنا وتجاربنا فإن السيدات من رواد الأعمال يرين العالم من منظور مختلف، وكنتيجة لذلك فهن يقمن بالأعمال بصورة مختلفة، وليس بالضرورة أفضل ولكن بصورة مختلفة. ولقد تعلمنا من العديد من التجارب عن العوائق التي تواجهها السيدات في مجال الأعمال، بدءاً من تحقيق التوازن بين الحياة العملية والعائلية وصولاً إلى الحصول على التمويل اللازم. وبالنسبة لتوري تورتش، وهي أحد الأمثلة على رائدات الأعمال اللواتي نجحن في تحقيق هذه القفزة النوعية من مشروع صغير بدأته من شقتها السكنية إلى شركة عالمية رائدة في مجال التجزئة، هناك 3 أولويات رئيسية. أولاً الوصول إلى رأس المال، فحين يتعلق الأمر بالتمويل تواجه السيدات المزيد من العقبات والتحديات. ثانياً توافر المستشارون الموثوقون من مختلف القطاعات والمجالات لتقديم الاستشارة والنصح. ثالثاً تحتاج المرأة إلى المزيد من التدريب في مجال ريادة الأعمال، وذلك لأن الدراسات تشير أن السيدات يشعرن بالتردد والشك فيما يتعلق بإمكانياتهن ويخشين الفشل أكثر من الرجال، ويمكن للتدريب أن يمنح المرأة الثقة التي تتيح لها المضي قدماً بالأفكار الجريئة. وهنا يأتي طبعاً الدور الهام للمبادرات الإقليمية والعالمية مثل صندوق المئوية. والأمر الذي لا يقل أهمية عن ما سبق هو رائدات الأعمال أنفسهن من السيدات واللتان يمثلن الإلهام بتشجيع غيرهن من السيدات على السعي قدماً في تحقيق أحلامهن. نحو 12% من طلاب كلية الأعمال في جامعة مانشستر هن من النساء، وهنا يأتي دور المهم للتعليم والتدريب للأجيال القادمة. ونحن في كلية الأعمال في جامعة مانشستر نستطيع تقديم المزيد في دعم المرأة. لدينا العديد من النماذج والمثل العليا الرائعة في المملكة العربية السعودية، وأذكر منها على سبيل المثال الحاصر السيدة لبنى العليان، الدكتورة عائشة المانع، والدكتورة لما سليمان، والتي أتشرف بمشاركتها في هذه الجلسة. أشكركم شكراً جزيلاً، وأتطلع لمناقشة مزيد من إمكانيات دعم المرأة كرائدة من رواد الأعمال في هذه الجلسة. شكراً.
So, good morning to all of you. Again, thanks to Dr. Abdulaziz and to the Centennial Fund to have me here. It is a pleasure and an honor to speak to you today. My name is Christine Pfeiffer. I'm the Secretary General of INSME, the International Network for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, which is a non-for-profit organization having a global outreach. We are currently 47 different countries, and let's say, just for you to understand what my background is, the composition is a stakeholder mix of governments, chambers of commerce, intermediaries, multipliers, even private, let's say, support organization to entrepreneurs, academics, financial actors, so everything that you need, let's say, in the whole ecosystem to make sure you push innovation and bring innovation also to small and medium-sized enterprises to give more, let's say, to stimulate growth and knowledge transfer towards small and medium enterprises. And it is an honor again to speak to you and having invited here as the Centennial Fund is our esteemed, let's say, member. Could you put on my presentation, please? Okay. What they say about female entrepreneurship, I am taking the, let's say, more global perspective here. It was very important to learn from our colleagues before and to give me, let's say, some more information about the local background is that it is for sure a growing phenomenon, that it is often perceived as innovative and creative, even if you think about traditional sectors as, for example, food and agriculture and food processing and packaging. So there is a lot of space for female entrepreneurs. Often the, let's say, female entrepreneurship focuses more on inclusive and sustainable growth. Next slide, please. Okay. Some very important considerations, very easily. We heard already about this topic this morning. It is highly relevant as the market of, let's say, of women is growing and growing. And so if you look at the principle of customer-driven innovation, women can very often more easily develop products and services for themselves. So it is a growing market, and a huge part of the, let's say, many advertisers, many people working in marketing are now referring to women to make sure they get this, let's say, market share back. What we heard before is also that female businesses have often more social impact. That was said already by my colleague from Ernst & Young. So they invest locally, they create jobs, they improve local infrastructure, and very often also the rather new concept of social entrepreneurship is represented by small and medium, by women. So their visionary approach sometimes had the economies to grow. Some particularities. Even this was said before, women can very often pay back earlier their debts because they handle somehow their business carefully. If you speak to some women, very often they say, do you remember your mothers? Because they somehow did something very similar. So the spending of the money was something that was somehow made carefully. So this kind of approach is still in most of the women businesses. Another story which is very important and is linked to the training and what we heard so far is that women are often more, let's say, available to share their good practice, to share their recipes of success, and have normally strong abilities in storytelling, and this sometimes help other businesses to grow. Last but not least, and I learned today that here it might be still a problem, is that they have normally stronger networks, maybe not larger networks, but networks based on trust. Thank you very much. Networks based on trust, that means somebody you can create really a team with. And this is, let's say, something that for a partnership is very important. But let's have a look at the globalized world. Competition is really cruel. To become and remain competitive at the global scale, women need to better engage even more in transnational cooperation. Here, they need to enhance their medium and long-term vision. I am just back from a conference in Geneva run by UNCTAD. It was on foreign investment, and you can really see that there is still a struggle to get them inside global value chains. So better access to finance for sure, even better access to information is needed here. Last but not least, and this is, let's say, an invitation to the women here in the room, We need to upgrade our technical skills. Very often we need to really open up our minds to the fact that we need to learn more about technology and use the immense, let's say, opportunities which are out there thanks to technology. So still a need to improve. There will be a huge, let's say, result if you involve women, female businesses in global value chains, but it will not be immediately seen. As we said before, the role of education is crucial. Talent scouting and mentoring and coaching, as our colleague said here too, is of high relevance and added value. And last but not least, it will be the abilities and the rewards to decide about the new ecosystem where we see female businesses strongly involved, and we need the policy support to push here in the right direction. Last but not least, let me just close with a positive outlook I see through female entrepreneurship. Often the perception of women can be improved, especially in the industry-academic difficult, let's say, relationship. I see that women can facilitate somehow much better. We need a stronger uptake of research in the small and medium enterprises, and that's especially where I see women's role. And also considering the sustainable inclusive growth that we need more and more, especially in many of the, let's say, developing countries. So I close my speech just with a quote said by somebody much more intelligent than me. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, but the most adaptable. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention and hand over back to the moderator. Thank you very much.
I would just like to start with a comment that access to capital obviously is really important. I think as it relates to all women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general, but particularly women, we heard this from my colleagues, is access to capital, access to networks, and access to mentors in the right supportive regulatory environment makes it successful. So capital, networks, and mentors. And I think capital on its own doesn't achieve what we're trying to achieve. So capital and mentorship, however, is extremely important and can provide up to an 80% success rate. So my point of view on this is capital without mentorship is lost capital. But capital with mentorship is enormously successful.
Dr. Lamy spoke about women accessing finance as well. How do you think it can happen in the region or globally?
Yeah, I spoke that there was a problem, but the problem was different. I think we need to access the women because I don't feel the network on what is available in the market today to help them as finance is known enough. And even though women do know about the Centennial Fund, I do not believe that they know what they're supposed to do to be able to approach the Centennial Fund. But I think these organizations, if they really want to support women, need to do a bit more to be able to reach out to women instead of wait for women to come to them.
So the finance is there, it's more a case that the women need to learn how to utilize it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What about the government's role, both in the Middle East and globally? We have a mix of nationalities here, so we get a nice perspective. How can governments help female entrepreneurs? Maybe Christine, do you have any ideas?
There are many different ways to let's say, push the female entrepreneurship through policy schemes. No, very often, at least in Europe, they are sector specific to make sure you somehow create also a network in the country on this specific topic and link it maybe cross-sectoral to another country. In Europe, we have some networks, especially from the European Commission, working on that. I guess it is more on what you said before. It is not just giving, supporting, and it's both what you said. No, it is you push the idea on bringing female entrepreneurship, and you cut off the limit you have to concerning the information to market and all these things together. So I guess it is a walk that you go through, and the policy schemes should really have a long-term vision and consider like 4 years of a project that is linked to also bring you through the Death Valley and bring you to the commercial partners you have to be, let's say, linked to, and all these things together. And this is normally what they do. They really try to create an ecosystem on a policy level to support women.
And what about the
Differs from one country to the other, but I'll speak about the United Arab Emirates, where our center operates, and we work under a leadership that empowers women with legislations to increase percentage of women up to board level, access to education, access to funds, a lot of initiatives such as Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid SMEs. They work on empowering women, reskilling and upskilling females back into the market as it's needed. But it's globally, there are more than 224 million female entrepreneurs that either started their own business or are running a business that is more than 3.5 years. This is based on the Global Report on Women and Entrepreneurship in 2012. So I think the legislation is there. It's very much up to us. I think we're past the asking or requesting more legislation or gender equality. It's there. I think in many Arab countries it is as good as it gets. And it's really up to us as females what we can do. And certainly education will empower women as well as providing role models, mentoring and support by successful role of women like the fantastic women we have here will play a significant role.
Okay. There is a youth diagnostic report we did to help governments really understand this issue, because as everyone here has pointed out, no one country is the same. But I think it's important to look at two things. What is the opportunity, the economic opportunity in the region?
Exactly.
And if it's limited, governments need policy to increase economic stimulus. Could be trade agreements, etc. And if it's skill-based, then they need policies to increase skill. So if you think of it like a quadrant, it's what is the opportunity, economic opportunity, are there jobs available, and then what is the skill base? And then governments need to adjust policies for that. If you get really deep down into like hard tactics, what are the tactical things you should do? I would suggest, there's some wonderful programs, like I'm fond of Foodtrepreneur in Canada. And what they do is they take a student and they give them $2,000 over a summer, and they have to develop a business plan. They're matched with a mentor, and they go out and actually learn a business. And I would say, perhaps in an environment like this, I'd be interested to see if, the Middle Eastern ladies agree with me, is I think you need to start young. Really get into the schools at a young age. And there's an organization called the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurs. They go in very young and they teach children about building a business plan, building a business, selling an apple, selling a t-shirt, maybe developing an app or gaming. And so what that does is it teaches them the cost of a unit, it teaches them math, they develop a budget, how to actually interact commerce and trade, and the way in which they think about how to solve problems, build teams, really have that international commerce ability changes. And I would say here there's a history. Speaking of women in entrepreneur, the Prophet's wife was an outstanding entrepreneur. And so we could, build on that history and really get back to the roots of what it meant to actually transact and do business and be an entrepreneur.
Alami, you had something to add?
Yeah, I was thinking that a lot of you had mentioned that legislations, yes, because I think that most of the legislations where you come from might have just reached, but I do think legislations is still important in a country like Saudi Arabia. So there are a few legislations that still not are in place. The other hand is mindset. As you said, in education, mindset, yes, to come into schools and teach people about early age being business and entrepreneurs. But however, in a country like Saudi Arabia, we need to also teach a change of mindset at early age to the boys on how to accept women's participation in society. And a third thing I wanted to say, I come from a business family and always had business. We were never, as we're 4 girls and 1 son, the 4 daughters were never included into the business. It was never an idea. So we all went into more professional sectors. I'm originally a biochemist. I'm a scientist. I worked in a research center. I never worked in business before. Because my father always was focused that it was my brother that would actually run the business and not us, the girls. It was also foreseen that business is too tough because of the protection of the women, and we want to protect you. You don't need to be in the business. It's too harsh. It's too complicated. It's a man's world. We grew up always believing that it is too complicated to be part of the business. And what I say is today, the younger girls, I joined the family business after I got elected into the chambers of commerce. So basically, I had to be elected by society for my own family to accept that I might have something as added value to be part of the family board. All of these things are realities. I want every person here to think, do you want really your daughters to work as business women and entrepreneurs? Do you really feel it is safe for them to become entrepreneurs? Do you have the will to actually support them to become entrepreneurs? This is the first question we need, because this is the society. And this is the society that will decide if they want their daughters to become entrepreneurs or not.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. We're obviously discussing global companies, and
That is a big ask of anyone. Setting up an SME must be hard enough. So turning that into a global business, I imagine, is
extremely difficult. So is that a skill that women naturally have? It's traditionally
something associated with
men, they're better at beating their chests than we are. So is it something that women are capable of doing?
Here you go.
Absolutely.
I think women are innately ready for leadership roles. It plays on our abilities, on our need to nurture, mentor. I think the soft skills in leadership are now one of the main or the most important leadership attributes which women have second to nature. So it's built in women, our ability to become leaders. I think more and more what is required is that leap of faith. I think the support of men has enabled many women to reach the leadership roles that they have acquired, be it family or the first boss that gave you a break. But I think there is the need to work on the strength of women, especially that the workplace now are more ready for us. It's more flexible, it's collaborative, it's remote. It is ready for the soft power to be more involved. And there is a lot to be seen by involving women. A research by Bose found that 12% increase in the GDP of the United Arab Emirates will be seen by including more female women in the workforce.
Okay. I would like to add something here. Yes, globally seen, we have seen that integrating women in global value chain is still an issue. While, you know, there is a lot of discussions on crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, thinking together, informal working together. This is normally a strength of women. So from that point of view, what people now set up around the world are some policy measures again on internationalization of the business, on really how to grow and go to different cultures, go to different ecosystems, go to a very competitive world and make sure that women can afford even this way of behavior and soft skill, what you mentioned. But normally to, let's say, to collaborate, I guess women have even much more opportunities to make sure it is of success. So because normally they look more about the capabilities, the added value people can bring to their own business to re-engage this, let's say, efforts locally. So this is normally the added value. I guess one thing female entrepreneurs should not do is thinking to become the best businessmen, because it is another way of handling a business. It is a very useful way. It is complementary, and I think together there is a big strength, but it is not the same way just to do it. So that's just my idea, and we need to give more coaching, mentoring to women to make sure they can really grow into a globalized company.
Dr. Lama?
Yeah, I wanted to say that in a study done on business women, that women in Saudi Arabia, 87% aspired to go internationally. And it was a number that was so much higher from the rest of the MENA region, because usually women want to stay local. And it was shocking, this number, to see that all of them had the aspiration and the ambition. So women in Saudi Arabia aspire and dream extremely high and do not accept to be, so even though they're all local and they're actually servicing the local market, but they all in their heads have a dream to reach international.
And I suppose what might prevent that for many women is the family obligation and...
No, it's not always the family. It's there aren't enough resources, as in the training, the technology. They want to go far, they want to reach out, but there is, I mean, I've had my business set alone, different from my family's business, which is the business I started, which is a health club for women. And I've been struggling on how to grow the business. Even though I sit on a board, to actually do it yourself, you need, I found out today, everywhere around the world, there are things called executive coaches. You know, I think executive coaches are something that women can really, really use, because executive coaches will shadow your business and it'll take you hand in hand to know how you can improve technology, how you can market it, and how can you may even create a franchise that in the long term might even go internationally. So there are many ideas, but there's always the struggle or what if I fail?
So your original question was, do we think women can create global businesses? Absolutely. With technology and actually even on crowdfunding, I met a woman entrepreneur. She put the first letter of her initial and the last name, and she was oversold in crowdfunding. So people didn't know whether they were financing a man or woman. They financed the idea. And also, there are programs. There's the Fortune 500 today, of which we participate in, has a program for global supplier diversity. So we, for example, Ernst & Young, EY, we will allocate a portion of our spend for diversity. So if it's a woman-owned business, and they can access this, they don't have to do this alone. WeBank provides the executive training and to be certified by WeBank first. They'll take you through that training, and then they can apply to actually scale their business through a corporate partner. That's really important, because the most important thing they need is a big customer, and then they need to land it, keep them happy, and then diversify right away into other customer base so they can scale and make it bigger.
Okay, we're running out of time just time for one more question. We've talked about how governments and society can help women. So how can women help themselves? Surely it's not a case of just how everyone else can help women. So how can we help ourselves? Christine, maybe you have a...
Share your best practices. That's something that I really see is working well. Share your problems. Tell them that it's not easy. Really take them, be a mentor yourself if you have created a company or if you have some experiences in this regard. And yes, keep to monitor what they do as support organizations. And I am pretty sure that, you know, if you adapt to the new market, it will work out positively.
So your question was, what advice do we have for women? I would say 3 things. We found 3 things in working with women entrepreneurs. One is women are fond of working in the business and not on the business. In the business, not on the business. You need to work on the business, right? Not just operate it, but think strategically. The second thing is think big. Think big. It takes as much effort as it does to build a small business as it does to build a big business. You might as well think big from the outset. And the third is really build the brand and public profile. Really work on that. That's extremely important. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. I think we had a question there, did we?
Here is another
No,
mic,
that's it.
yes.
Oh.
You pass maybe too.
تفضل إذا عندك مشاركة عرف بالاسم تفضل والسؤال.
Do you need the mic?
Sure, maybe. Just keep it there.
Shukran, thank you. Farhan Kalaldi from Impact MENA. My question is for Dr. Lana, or Lama Sulaiman. You mentioned that there is a need to have a holistic review for the regulations and the laws and to look at how this venture creation by women entrepreneurs. Is there any specific areas you think that, for example, starting a business, closing a business, financing, where is the gaps or the issues?
I mean, I will not go into the details of what is needed because I need to sit down with the officials and then discuss this. It's going to take too long. However,
top three. If
however,
you want to talk about the top three.
I'm going to tell you one, but I think this one would actually help business women as well as businessmen. There must be a coordination between the different ministries that give licenses for business people to work together. Today, there is the report that says that Saudi Arabia is one of the top in doing business. Yes, because having a registration is very fast. It could be done in less than a week. However, after registration, there are many licenses depending on the sector you're going to go in that you have to acquire. These licenses could go up to 6 to 8 months and some people even a whole year. So if it's only a registration, then yes, we are on top. But if there is everything else, unless there becomes one body that works together, different areas, to create one system for everybody who wants to go into the business, this is a big, so men are struggling, so can you imagine how much women are struggling?
I completely agree with that. In Mexico, for example, you know, a country where 90% are entrepreneurs, but yet they haven't always been respected. They created a minister of entrepreneurship that sits across all governments to streamline all those activities, and they are experiencing success in this area. I completely agree with that.
Abdul Hassan Deri from Bahrain SMEs. We have a say, I think it's a poem in Arabic, Al-Ummu Madrasatun, and that this is harmful. So it's too much pampering them, not to let them take the risk, and hence, right from their early stage to take the entrepreneurial spirit. I think, how can we have more of awareness for our, let's say, mothers and females to encourage their sons right from the early stage to go for more entrepreneurial activities and skills and to take more risk, to be risk takers. Thank you very much.
That's interesting.
I mean, for women not to want to take risk is not something is not something that is bad. I think actually, if we encourage more women to join into the business world, you will have women are known not to go for corruption. Corruption really decreases when more women enter the workforce. It's because women are afraid and because women are usually reluctant from moving in. With men, because they're so ready to take risks, sometimes they bypass what is right and what is wrong. Yes, we can teach the women to push their sons. Women will always push their sons to the maximum potential. I mean, a mother will never want just a little bit for her. A mother will usually want much more for her son, but will accept a little bit. I think so. I don't know.
May I add that, yes, women are the schools, the mother are, but so are fathers. And I'll speak of my personal experience. From a very, very young age, my father kept telling me, you are a leader, you are a leader. I became one. I believed it and I practiced it and I became what I practiced. I was given my first break by a male boss who believed in me at a very, very young age. I think women collaboratively with men, parents, be it, or role models in the workplace, are able to do it. It has to be done collaboratively. And if I am, as a mother, to grow and see for my 5-year-old girl, Maya, equal opportunities in a world that is getting more and more difficult, I need to act now, hand in hand with men, to portray the successful examples and let our young generation know that it is doable, difficult yet doable. The female women have been recognized globally as female part of the family, businesses, government, but recently also in executive management. And in the recent Forbes list of most powerful women in the Arab world, for the first time, it added women in executive management in addition to traditional family business and women in government. Women are more active in advocating that role. And that is something I think we need to continue to do.
Okay. I would just wanted to add such a provocative you
Just
know, in different cultures, you know, you have Tiger Mom in China. They say they push their children to the extreme. And I just wanted to say in the Western world, there's a concept called helicopter parent. It is the parent who hovers over the child everywhere. And actually, you know, the child is frozen. But I think what your real question is how do we create a nation, a movement where an entrepreneurial culture is embraced? And I think your point is interesting. In this part of the world, our G20 barometer actually ranked Saudi Arabia last in the G20, number 20. And what's really important is that it takes a village. It takes everyone. It takes corporates, governments, parents. And really, the point is, we all recognize this is important and we all have to raise our voice on it. We have to work together in coordination to make this happen. And so I think that's what events like this is all about. I think that we need our voice made to government. The point was made here. You can't operate under regulatory regime that's dispersed and doesn't allow access. And you know, we need all of these ingredients in the ecosystem to work together. Thanks.
Okay, as I said, we could discuss this all day.
Exactly.
So to conclude, I think we have established that we need to set up more networks for women that include male counterparts so that they can nurture and establish businesses. We need to educate girls and women at an early age to upskill and educate them how to access capital and how to utilize that capital. And then we need to share our best practices and think big and build our brand. So hopefully we've all learned something from today, and thank you to the ladies who were here today to discuss the panel, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you, Helen.
نشكر المتحدثين ورئيس الجلسة على مشاركتهن المتميزة وطرحهن للمحاور بكل تفاصيلها. حضورنا الكرام، شارك في هذه الجلسة كل من الدكتورة لما سليمان نائب رئيس مجلس إدارة الغرفة التجارية والصناعية بمحافظة جدة من المملكة العربية السعودية، والسيدة كريستين بيفر الأمين العام لشبكة الدولية للمؤسسات الصغيرة والمتوسطة، والسيدة ماريا بينيلي من أسواق النمو الاستراتيجية في وورنست وينغ العالمية من إيطاليا، والسيدة رندا بسيسو المدير المؤسس لمركز الشرق الأوسط التابع لكلية الأعمال من جامعة مانشستر، من رئيسة الجلسة وهي السيدة هيلين مورغ محرر ميزات فوربس الشرق الأوسط ومن إيرلندا. شكرا لكم جميعا.
شكراً.